So I told you guys earlier, right? I take the trash out, right? I had some trash. So it's all the way the fuck down the street. So I was gonna get a coffee, so I drove down. And I'm throwing it out, and I hear this guy coming behind me. And I actually, like, I have no fucking clue where this dude came from. Because, like, basically it's, like, in the corner of a parking lot. There's a whole-ass parking lot, and then there's, like, a street on the other side. It's, like, you kind of have to come out of nowhere to come up behind someone there. And I was literally, like, as I was throwing my stuff, and I turned around really quick. I saw this dude, like, literally, like, maybe 15 feet away walking up. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, how did I not notice this guy? And so I left the door open because he had a bag of trash. You know, I wasn't gonna make him reopen it again. It's like a trash compactor. So I walk by him, and I go to get in my truck, and I'm literally getting in. He goes, oh, excuse me. And I go, fuck. I was like, I had a bad feeling about this. You know when someone just, like, appears out of thin air, and you're in, like, by yourself in an area? I'm like, here we go. I was like, all right. Not like I never lived through this before. And I was like, yeah. So he's on the other side of my bed, right? So I'm like, you know, if he starts walking around, I'm going to hop in. But he doesn't walk around. He's like, oh, question, sir. I have a question for you. And I was like, all right, shoot. And he was like, I'm looking for bus station. Do you know where that one is? And I was like, well, there is no bus stations around here. But, like, there's a bus stop for that one. Yeah. He goes, you know where that is? And I was like, I don't have a clue where one of those would be, but, like, that runs along this road. And I, like, point and, like, I said the name. And I'm like, but it could be pretty far. Like, we're not really that close. And he's like, oh, okay, thank you. He starts walking, like, towards me, like, towards, because, like, so I'm, like, parked this way. This way is, like, to leave. So I hopped in and just, like, you know, he can walk by me, no big deal. So I start driving, and I'm on my way to get my coffee, and I go, wait, what road did I tell him it's on? And I told him it was on, like, what's basically Route 1. And I go, oh my God, no, it's not. I was like, dude, it's like, it is like a 30, maybe a 30-minute walk, maybe a 15-minute walk if you're hustling from Route 1. And I go, oh my mother of fuck. I told him it's on the wrong, I told the wrong street. I was like, oh my God, it's not even close either. I was like, dude, I don't even know where the one, like, I don't even know, like, where that would be closest to me. Like, where I was located, like, because that was the bus I used to take home when I was a kid. Remember I told you I used to take, like, the public bus home and then, like, walk home, like, 2 miles? I was telling you guys the story the other day. I was thinking that bus, but because it crossed a certain part, I was thinking that it made sense. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, it crosses here. But it only crosses it one time just to go from, like, one side of it to the other. I'm like, fuck, I'm such an idiot. So I was, like, pretty much at my coffee place. So I get my coffee really quick, and I drove back. And so I drove what would have been the route from when he left me to go towards that direction, and nothing. Could not see the dude. I couldn't find him. I did find someone that I thought was him, and I got close, and I was like, nope, that's not him. Yeah, I don't know. I felt really bad. I'm not gonna lie. I think I gave this dude directions or told him that something was gonna be there, and it's not there. So if he walked all the way there, hey, he's gonna be in a long walk. It was a failed NPC quest. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought he was gonna rob me because it's in, like, it's a part of my parking lot that's, like, very by itself, kind of in the woods, kind of by itself in the trees. It's very difficult to, like, walk up behind somebody there because it's a very long open parking lot. And then the trash compactor area is, like, fenced in. So, like, you have to go through fences and then walk a few feet to get to the trash compactor. So I'm in an enclosed space and this guy just appears behind me. I'm like, nah, that ain't right. That's weird. That's not normal. You know? Is your part of town shady? Not really, but I will say, though, it's become a little worse in the last, like, year and a half. Because, like, my place hasn't really raised its rents that much, like, almost at all. And a lot of places around us are raising 10, 20, 30. The highest I've heard is 40% rent increase. So my place used to be a place that was, like, a little bit more upscale. Like, and I say that, like, very sparingly upscale. It was just, like, a little bit more pricey than places around it. Everything went way the fuck up. And mine's didn't. So it's kind of had a lot of new people coming in, if that makes sense. Like, for example, every single neighbor on my whole floor is new. They've all been here like 4 months. When I was a smaller streamer forever ago, people used to go and gasp at my rent price. My rent price was like, I think $1,700 at the time. $1,700 at the time, either $1,650 or $1,700. People used to go, for that? Oh my god! But now it's $1,800, and people go, that's it? Like, you know what I mean? So like the tables have turned a little bit, and I've definitely made money on my investment of staying here, having a good relationship here, and fighting them and being like, hey, every single one of my neighbors left. I'm the only motherfucker who didn't leave. So that's a reliable tenant, and I know you could find somebody else and maybe make more, but I've never had a problem. I always pay on time. You know I'm always going to pay on time, and you're never going to have an issue. Yeah, maybe you'll lose an extra $200 a month, but that reliability in the long term is worth way more to you. Plus, you made an extra $100 a month off me last year because I was on quote-unquote a short-term lease, and they would charge me extra $100 a month. And my apartment flooded. I didn't take them to court. So, you're welcome. And they were like, all right, fine. We'll keep it at the same rate you were last year. They actually tried to fight me. They were like, $18.15. I go, so you want an extra $15 a month? They're like, yes. I go, I will leave. Like, I'm not fucking playing this game. And they're like, what? And I was like, I'm not playing this game. We talked. We had a deal. Go and add an extra $15. Don't try to justify it as an extra $15. I am petty. They were like, $1,800. I was like, fair enough. Give me the contract today. Also, my like break the lease here is like $3,000. So like, as long as I stay here at least a few months, even if I ended up staying like 6 months and then magically I found some like basically dirt cheap legendary house, like I would probably still make my money back. Does that make sense? Because most of the places around me are like $2,500 to $2,800. So if I'm paying $1,800 and most of the places around me are like $2,500 to $2,800 for a very similar place, as long as I stay here a few months, I basically save the money.
You needed a side hustle for more money. You could always become a baker and sell your creations to foreign countries as chemical weapons.
I actually thought that was going to be a legitimately serious idea. And I was like, wait, stop. No, my thinking is terrible. And then, oh.
Call that
Yeah, Comcast is fucking terrible. Like, don't go... Listen, I had Cox, which is like a fucking subsidy of Comcast when I lived in Providence. They were dog shit. Like, to be honest with you, they were like not terrible, but they were not good. Like, I think it was like $100 a month for like 400 or 300 gigabyte for a 300 megabyte download. When they were installing it, the guy came into our apartment, was like, yeah, I might need a little bit of wiring for this one. I'll be right back. Went to his van and fucking left. Never came back. Guy went home. We had to call him and go, yo, we were supposed to get this installed today. Guy came and left. They're like, yeah, what's the problem? We're like, what do you mean, what's the problem? The guy came and left. And they're like, yeah. We go, okay, you don't understand. He didn't install anything. He just opened up the wall, said, I'll be back, and never came back. And they were like, what? We're like, yeah. And they were like, oh, we'll send someone out immediately. Like an hour later, someone else showed up. And they were like, there's no wiring that needs to be done. He literally just hooked it up. He's like, yeah, you're good to go now. I was like, bingo. Cox wasn't terrible, but then, okay, so then I got internet in like my town, right? So like my town had like its own like internet program, right? This is when I first moved in with my old roommate, and he moved before me because he was working. So he's a mechanic. He was living with me when I was in college. Like he was a mechanic, and he was traveling like from Rhode Island to Massachusetts, like an hour-long drive. So when we ended up getting our apartment together outside of Providence, he moved immediately. Like he just took an air mattress and started sleeping on the floor before we even moved. You know, like we still had like a week or two before we moved. So when he went immediately, he wanted to get internet right away. And so he was like, yo, like they have internet here, you know, because we had to like do electricity and shit like that. He's like, they have internet here, like should we do it? And we looked at the price and it was like 500 megabytes for like $60 or $50. I was like, yeah, that's not bad. Like let's do it. Bro, he was telling me that like, he's like, dude, it keeps dropping just out of nowhere. Like I just keep lagging out of games. Like, I don't know. So I like we started to move in and I was like, is it still doing it? He goes, yeah, all the time. So I'm not joking. We'd moved in and all this stuff, you know, we hadn't really addressed it because like, you know, we had to move a bunch of stuff for a few days. I sat down on my PC, plugged it in, turned it on. I everything booted up, you know, I was making sure everything was good, setup was all good. I joined Discord. I was like, hey, what's going on? You know, blah, 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 blah. I loaded up Overwatch. I was in queue. Internet cuts out. I said, no. Turned my PC off. Set an alarm for 9 a.m. Drove down there at 9 a.m. Literally brought the whole fucking setup and just threw it on the table, and I said, I'm returning all this. And they're like, why did you bring it all back? Like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm canceling this immediately. And they're like, why? And I was like, it cuts out every 10 minutes. Like, no. They're like, well, we can send a technician out. I go, no, that is, it cuts out every 10 minutes. That is not normal. There is something severely wrong. That is severely wrong, and it's been happening for a week. There is no shot I even want to deal with this. And it was like, well, we could send out a technician, and they could have got all the equipment for you. And I go, well, the equipment's right here. And they're like, well, we're gonna have to charge you for the month. And I was like, I honestly don't care what you charge me. I mean, it's only been 7 days, but I don't care what you charge me. Take this shit back. And they were like, well, we're sorry to see you go. Would you like to fill out a review? I go, you really want me to leave you a 0-star review? You think that's a good idea? And they were like, have a good day, sir. I was like, you too. And left.